Greetings once again. We have been offering these midweek devotionals for quite a while now. We want to maintain connection with everyone that's part of the church and beyond. We still encourage you all to continue to reach out to one another, people that you haven't been seeing. We are still taking steps, cautious ones, toward reopening more fully, but meanwhile, we want to stay in touch, and this is one of those ways that might happen. But take advantage of any opportunities that you have, please, to be in touch with one another. Of the devotionals that we've been doing, this is the one about more stories to tell. Sometimes you just run out of time. Even if you're the writer of a New Testament letter, in the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 11, after reveling in some of the stories of the great heroes of the faith, Hebrews 11, verse 32 and following is what we have, where the writer says, "And what more shall I say? I do not have time to tell about Gideon, Barak, Samson, and Jephthah, about David and Samuel, and the prophets." Some big names there. He covered some other stories in this chapter, but there's not even time to talk about those definite heroes of our faith, who, as in verse 33 goes on to say, who through faith conquered kingdoms, sounds like Gideon and Barak, administered justice, maybe that's Jephthah and Samuel as judges, and gained what was promised. Well, there's the story of Joshua, and we're talking more about him this week here at Mac. Who shut the mouths of lions. Oh, there's a prophet. How about Daniel? Verse 34. Who quenched the fury of the flames. Classic story in Daniel's day of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And escaped the edge of the sword. Maybe that's an allusion to Esther in her day, and how the Jews avoided another Holocaust at that point in history. Whose weakness was turned to strength. Well, maybe there's Samson. And who became powerful in battle and routed foreign armies. Well, that's the warrior King David all over. Verse 35, women received back their dead, raised to life again. We know that there were many miracles that God did in the days of the prophets Elijah and Elisha. There were others who were tortured, refusing to be released so that they might gain an even better resurrection. And maybe in the sweep of prophecy, the writer of Hebrews is looking ahead to the New Testament era and beyond, and stories like Polycarp. Look it up. Verse 36, some faced jeers and flogging, and even chains and imprisonment. Well, that's back to the Old Testament, Jeremiah, the prophet's experience, and others. Verse 37, they were put to death by stoning. They were sawed in two. They were killed by the sword. They went about in sheepskins and goatskins, destitute, persecuted, and mistreated. And maybe swinging back to the New Testament era, heroes like Stephen, and so on, and so on. Verse 38, the world was not worthy of them. Such are the heroes and the stories that we should know about those who have preceded us, the nobility that we belong to in the family of God. Verse 38 goes on, they wandered in deserts and mountains, living in caves and in holes in the ground. Well, is there more to tell about Elijah and Jeremiah and others? Verse 39, these were all commended for their faith. Faith forward in the Messiah, the one that the Lord had promised all along to send, that they were all looking forward to. These were all commended for their faith, yet none of them received what had been promised. Jesus hadn't come yet. We look backward in faith. Jesus has come. Our Redeemer, our Savior, is here, and he's coming again. Verse 40, since God had planned something better for us, so that only together with us would they be made perfect. Wow, a lot to look forward to. Right now, we get to live when we do, not then. There are some hard times. We don't exactly call these good times, but even when it's still might not be that easy, we need encouragement too. And we have it from these stories of those who've gone on before. Where are we going to find a constant source of that encouragement? Well, it's still the Lord, the one that they had faith in, the one that we trust as we go forward in him. And Hebrews 11 is meant to whet our appetites for more stories. There are a bunch more stories to tell in the Bible about our heritage, the people of faith, about our God who enables us to be strengthened in all situations. Ultimately, God's plan is for something better for all of his people, from all times and all places, that we all be together, that we be made perfect, glorified in the presence of Jesus forever. What times those will be? When there's plenty of time for more stories.